Let's define what is an invasive species. An invasive species is a kind of alien species whose introduction does or is likely to cause economic or environmental harm or harm to human health. This refers to a particular ecosystem in which any species that is not native to that ecosystem. Non-native species can be added to a community, either by natural range extensions or because they are introduced as a result of human activity. Most non-native species have harmful ecological effects. That's why these are referred to as invasive species. Invasive species are a major threat to our environment because they can change habitats and alter ecosystem function and ecosystem services. They also crowd out or replace native species, and they damage human activities, costing the economy millions of dollars. Now, how do invasive species can affect the food chain? Invasive species can affect the food chain in an ecosystem by destroying or replacing native food sources. The invasive species may provide little to no food value for wildlife. Also, some invasive species are capable of changing the conditions in an ecosystem, such as changing soil chemistry or the intensity of wildfires. Some examples of invasive species are the West Nile virus, the Congo grass, the feral pigs, zebra mussels, European green crabs, Dutch elm disease, and water hyacinth. Now, how to prevent the invasion of these species? Strategies used to control invasive species include keeping potential invaders out, eradicating potential invaders soon after invasion, biological control, chemical control, and mechanical control. From these 5 strategies, keeping potentially damaging invaders out is the first place in the most cost-effective way to deal with introduced species. The ability of new species to invade can be reduced by monitoring the common invasion pathways such as sheep-biased water, wooden packing material, and horticultural plants. When it takes about eradicating after invasion, it is easier to eradicate invasive species if they are discovered quickly and population levels remain low, even if it proves impossible to totally eliminate an invader. Early inversion can keep the population sizes of invaders at acceptably low levels. Biological control involves introducing an enemy of an invasive plant in an attempt to lower the population size of the invader. A disadvantage of biological control is that some agents attack non-target species, becoming noxious invaders themselves, and it is very difficult to remove a troublesome introducing natural enemy once it is established. Chemical control involves using chemical pesticides to kill invaders. Although chemicals can effectively control some species, chemical control has some problems. For example, pesticides may not target species. Also, chemical control can be expensive and may only be effective for a limited amount of time because pests can involve resistance to the pesticides. Mechanical control involves using machinery or human effort to remove invaders. Now let's see an example of a food web. Here in this food web we have 5 levels. The first is the primary producer, the second the primary consumer, the third the secondary consumer, the fourth level is the tertiary consumer, and the fifth level is the decomposer. The primary producer is represented by the grass, and it has a drawing of a sun. Why? Because the grass needs the energy of the sun to obtain its own energy and produce its own food. Then, this energy which has the grass is consumed by the mice and the grasshoppers, which are the primary consumers, and those are herbivores. Then, these primary consumers are consumed by the secondary consumer, which is represented by the snake. Why? Because the snake eats the mice. Then, the tertiary consumer consumes the secondary consumer. And here, the tertiary consumer is represented by the eagle, because the eagle eats snakes. Then, when the hogs die, fungi breaks the bodies down and turns them into nutrients. So, these nutrients are again used by the primary producers to obtain energy.